Hello and good morning, everyone. This is Bogdan Cudzilo from TriStar. We'll be starting our webinar shortly. Today, we're going to be focusing on managing FDA medical device compliance in Windchill. So this webinar will be recorded. I'll give just another minute or so for people to join, and we'll start this webinar. As always, if you have any questions during the webinar, feel free to enter your question in the chat window in the GoToWebinar interface, and I'll try to get to as many questions as I can in our time allotted. If you have any questions that don't get answered, we'll get back to you and send you any additional details that you require. Okay, we'll get started here in just a few seconds. Okay, great. Let's start the webinar today. So today what we're going to be talking about is some of the challenges in managing a product design that is subject to FDA compliance. So a product that needs to be managed properly and audited, the process itself audited by the FDA, and any internal quality as well. We're going to also talk about how TriStar is addressing the managing of this product development for the medical device industry using our own medical device solution that we've developed. And this is for companies who are using Windchill but need to manage that specific type of compliance. So what are some of the challenges that we run into with some of our customers trying to manage all of this information around the product and the development of the product? Most of the time, there are some requirements for keeping things like a design history file and associated checklists. But for the most part, companies are relying on staff to complete that. The process is very manual. There are a lot of reviews, and very difficult to get status update on the product itself. And I apologize, I didn't start my webinar, so let me start it again. You didn't miss much. So let me kind of just run through, some of the challenges, the TriStar's version of a solution to these challenges, and then we'll go through some questions and answers. So the first thing we need to always do is complete that DHF checklist or understand what belongs to that design history file. Windchill is a great tool to keep all that information in one place, but then how do you get all the associated documents, part numbers, CAD files, all in one place where I can easily report out on to see where, how far are we ahead? Is everything is everything complete? Is there anything missing? Are also you relying on staff to maintain the design master record or for manufacturing information that the different departments require? Most of the time it's the quality department kind of tracking this information down, but it's very challenging and time consuming. And then of course any type of audits or requests for information from the FDA just take a long time to gather and put together and track down, especially when you're trying to release your product out to the market, in a short time as possible. And then, of course, a lot of spreadsheets are being used. Maybe physical printed out binders are being stored in some locations. But again, to validate and to track that information is very difficult. Typically in a FDA compliance or in the medical device industry, we're kind of managing a group of documents that support the the device history, the device manufacturing record, and any downstream information for manufacturing. So that consists of all of these various objects in Windchill, things like documents. Okay, I have a message that that uh, uh, that I cannot be heard. Can someone confirm that they can hear me on this webinar? Okay, so yeah, it works. So if you can't hear me, you might be your system muted. So okay, I got another message. The sound keeps cutting in and out. Let me switch again to my telephone and switch back to the mic, and we'll see if that helps. Okay, I'm back to the mic. I think others can hear me well, so it might be the internet connection or something like that, or the network quality for the GoToWebinar. Again, we apologize if that's happening. You can also call in using the provided call-in number through the phone. So if the internet audio is experiencing some difficulties, you can also call in through that. So I apologize for any issues that the GoToMeeting is experiencing, but this will be recorded. So if you miss a few words, you can always go back for the replay. So again, let's move on. So the DHF contains all of these different types of parts, documents, any kind of engineering drawings. If you are using the ECN system inside Windchill, things like change objects, non-conformances, kappas, and any additional modules. Some of those are then rolled up into the DMR. Same thing with the DHR. So we've partnered with Wincom to develop an app that allows us to gather all that information in one place, all the required components for the DHF, for the DMR, for the DHR, and understand that checklist of items and where they are in the process, how complete they are, what components need to be completed and are outstanding. But it also offloads the work from the users to determine when they're creating a document, is this part of the DHF or not? A lot of times I don't know whether that's going to be part of the, that checklist or not. I just want to create my document. So, we've created templates that kind of take out the guesswork for the end user, and classify those type of documents as either part of the checklist or not. So Wincom is a company of software developers for Windchill, so they're just extending Windchill functionality to manage this type of compliance. So again, the challenges are that arduous process for the medical device manufacturers to manage all of those different objects to at the end of the day be compliant. TriStar's approach allows us to dynamically collect these documents into that checklist. We can manage those various design objects and process objects in Windchill. We can then, with some of the TriStar apps, report out on the data, as well as provide a dashboard to kind of see the status of this compliance in real time for the end users. So that happens using just Windchill out of the box functionality. We use PDM link and the managed collection capability to kind of understand what belongs in that managed DHF DMR collection. And of course, also some of the document subtype functionality to collect the required documents. So if I'm a user creating a document, let's say a user manual for a product, the medical device app will understand which category that document should be placed in, and is it actually part of the DHF or DMR or not. So the user doesn't really have to select, that document, or some document control person going back having to select, yes, this is now part of it or not. So this allows us to create that relationship within Windchill and give the user really visibility to that staged view of the DHF, DHR, and also allow the user to work on the document as well as just see the status at each gate of the process. The documents themselves can be modified independently. They could also be configured to add additional attributes that you need. The documents themselves can also be printed and compiled. So there are some apps which are optional, but they automate some of the process of compiling all the required documents into, let's say downstream, you probably will need a PDF copy of those documents or a summary report with a cover page to archive or to send out to contract manufacturers. So the app itself can use some of the other apps that we covered on previous webinars to kind of report out on all this information. So some of the components that are part of this app are the medical device app, which manages the design history files. There are other apps which are optional, things like the Office PDF worker that will just create Office documents, PDFs out of Office documents like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, watermarking utilities, content export for generating neutral files out of CAD documents, a printer app which allows users to actually mark up like a change form in Windchill or any type of document and save that markup back into the actual PDF of that document, as well as some of the reporting and the dashboard tools. So there are competitor tools out there that kind of manage or have some templates to manage this process for the medical device industry. Some of the advantages of the TriStar approach is that we only use PDM link out of the box functionality, right? We don't require additional modules, no third-party software like Adobe servers or Cognos for reporting, no additional modules of Windchill, to manage this information. It does not require additional databases to manage this. It doesn't plug into Excel and store Excel files out of the system somewhere and synchronize those together at the end. So it all uses the Windchill functionality to make sure that the data integrity and the cost of ownership is affordable for both the large and the small sized businesses that we typically work with. So some of the optional apps will just automate some of the common functions that people do today, and I kind of listed them out here. So things like making PDFs out of documents, creating watermarks on those, creating cover sheets for any type of required document or group of documents that you want to send out as a package, and kind of collecting and reporting out on all of those. So I want to kind of run through some of those additional apps. One of these is the PDF Office Worker app, or the Office PDF Worker app, rather. This is an app that installs into Windchill as another CAD worker. So this is in the worker visualization administrator page. This is just an installation to the Windchill server, and this creates another, essentially worker to convert any Microsoft Office supported file to a PDF. So this worker can also, actually, this one here should be this one here. So this worker can just convert those files. There's also another one which is kind of similar, works with the worker. This is a printer app. This one here allows us to just kind of pull up the Word document or any other document that may not be supported through PTC's desktop integration functionality, but still allows us to mark up something. So if I open up a PDF or an engineering drawing and I want to mark up something on that and save it back into the system as a attachment to like an ECN or to a problem report or a non-conformance, I can use this printer app. It just installs as another printer on your system, but that printer will take that PDF automatically and attach it to the object that you specify, usually by the number of the ECN or the part number of the part, what have you, and link that PDF markup directly into Windchill. So users can track these comments by different people on that document as part of a change request or a change notice or non-conformance, problem report, things like this. Another app which kind of has been configured for displaying some of the medical device information, like the items in a DHF collection or a DMR collection, is the medical device dashboard. So this is using the dashboard functionality of the dashboard app to then extract and present in various categories the status of each of those documents, each of those parts, drawings that are part of that DHF DMR collection. So this will show me, for example, how many of those documents I have, what state they're in, how many are released, how many are not. If I have engineering drawings, I can kind of see the difference between documents versus drawings and how much work is left in those various areas. So I'm going to go in and kind of show the dashboard itself. So this is the dashboard app. I'm going to log in using my Windchill credentials. This is going to go in and query Windchill for that specific product and give me the information that I'm looking for. So I'm going to go in and select my sample medical device product. This is going to show me information about the product itself, and I can filter in through here and see, for example, on the dashboard, just the changes associated to the product. I don't think I have too many here, but also how the DHF and the DMR is structured. So this will kind of go in and report out in real time what is the number of objects in each of these categories as a graph for the first part. And I can see how many of these objects there are. For example, in the design planning stage, there's one in work and one released. In the input stage, there's 10 in work and 6 released, and so on the various stages. If I go, for example, into the tabular list of all of those items, I can see here and sort out on what are those items as part of this collection. So these are all the items available. And some of the types could be, maintenance manuals, FMEA documents, just Windchill parts, quality documents, and so on. I can also list out just the engineering parts that make up the physical product, and of course break it out into things like only documents. There's also a way to put in some graphical information, like the state here is shown as a graphical icon where released parts are green, not released parts are red. There could be intermediate states that are yellow, or percentage complete states, hours open if it's part of a task or ECN. So this just shows me those items. I can also see summaries of those items, and part of this DHF category item is if, for example, I want to see what are the in-work items in the design input stage, and kind of go into the design categories and put in or sort by my state to see if I show more entries, let's say, this will kind of show me what are the items here that are in the various states, and what are those different documents that I need to be concerned about. So again, each of these documents has a link back into Windchill. So if I go back and say, well, there's a functional requirements document that is still not complete, right? I can go back into the Windchill system and see the details of that document. Now it looks like this document has no content yet, so I might want to start with a template and start filling out this document directly from my dashboard. So I can see the various items in the various categories of these states in the DHF. And the other nice thing also is that I can see any associated changes to this specific DHF collection. So there may be some change requests or change notices, some non-conformances, some customer issues, depending on the modules you're using within Windchill from the quality side. But that way I can see the ECN, ECR information, problem report, variances, all directly tied only to the items on this DHF collection. So I don't have to go in and hunt through every item to see these associated change numbers. I can see all of the items that either are in progress, in evaluation, or have been closed out as part of this DHF collection. So all of that is shown in my dashboard, and the same thing for the DMR. I can see the various components and any details that are part of that DMR state. So the template itself will appropriately track which documents, which parts are required for these, for these categories on the dashboard. Okay, so this is just a quick overview for this app. We'll probably have follow-up demos and webinars, kind of getting into some additional details around the functionality of this app in Windchill, kind of showing the process of how the the user will enter the information into Windchill. This information is already built out in Windchill. It's reported out on this app. But inside of Windchill, we have these documents running in the background, and our demos are coming shortly. There's other elements of managing compliance, things like audits, training, and so on. This solution is always being expanded upon and could be tailored to your specific environment. So it's just using out-of-the-box functionality, which is configurable and doesn't require any type of extensive customizations to do that. So I think we have some time left for questions, so I'm going to kind of go into some of the questions that may be online. And again, if you have a question, feel free to submit that in the chat window. Okay, I don't think there's any questions right now. So thanks for uh, your time today. And if you have any more questions, uh, feel free to reach out to your TriStar sales representative, and we'll be happy to go into some details on this further. So thank you for your time, and have a great day, everyone.